So are your clients feeling like they're drowning in a sea of information? Are they struggling to grasp all the financial advice that's being thrown at them? Well, today we unravel the art of clear communication in our information-saturated world, and we discover how complex financial topics can feel as simple as ABC. Got an exciting show lined up for you this morning, so prepare to connect with your clients in a whole new way and leaving them with a sense of wow. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome back to, what's this, episode 33 of season 4. I think we're now on like 234 or 35 episodes already since we started back in 2020. So absolutely incredible. So looking forward to an amazing show this morning. We have some incredible things happening today, and incredible seems to be my word of the day. I just learned that this is apparently, I don't know, gorgeous smile day or something like that. So we're really looking forward to a great episode today. Today is all about communication and connecting with your clients in a sort of a world that's full of distraction, information overload, and obviously short attention span. So we're going to talk a little bit about how we can connect better with our clients. So looking forward to that. But today, Nikki is here as well from the Financial Planning Institute with all the latest news and stories and all the incredible things that you need to know. There I go again with incredible. And Norma is also here this morning talking about, is this good enough? So we'll see whether things are good enough or not. And then we have Gugu back for the second time with her segment, Wired to Connect. And she's got a very interesting guest this morning. So really looking forward to that. I'm not going to let the cat just out of the bag yet. So you have to wait for her to introduce you to her guest. Then got a couple of quick announcements. Then we'll get into today's topic, and it's going to be quite a long one. I hope I can sort of fit it into the time we've got. So I'm going to do my best to do that. But first off, let's say a warm good morning to everybody. So Terence in the house first. Good morning, Terence. Nice to see you this morning. Short on his heels, Mr. Quibus Lane. Good morning, Quibus. Hope you are doing well. We've got Elmine. Good morning, Elmine. Almost already to you, Neil. Good morning, Neil. Hi, and a happy Friday. Thank you very much. We've got Willem Bester. Goeiemorgen. Sunny Cape Town. We've got Razan. Good morning, Razan. Nice to see you as well. Gary Nel. Goeiemorgen, Gary. Hoop het gaan lekker daar by jou ook. Arun is earlier today. Good morning, Arun. Nice to see you. Mr. Grant Newland Nel, who I had the pleasure of seeing twice this week. So good morning, Grant. Hope it's going well there by you. Heloise, goeiemorgen. Lekker in Pretoria. We've got Renate. I can't remember like the area, Renate, somewhere in the middle of Joburg. Good morning. Hope you are keeping well. We've got Tinus Brits, al die pad van die Vrystaat af. Goeiemorgen, Tinus en Ferdi. So die twee Bloemfonteiners. Good morning. We've got Mark Weston Ford, who now jumped. Good morning, Des. You just took Mark's place. Good morning, Des. And then we've got Mark Weston Ford all the way from KZN. And then Julie, good morning. Nice to see you as well. So thank you very much for saying hi. Today we're not doing a lucky draw. What we are going to do is, we are doing a lucky draw, but not for a book. So we've got to do the lucky draw for the feedback that was given for the summit. So there's 80 people in that draw. So we're going to do that live, drawing 3 lucky coffee hampers this morning. So looking forward to that. And so we will do that this morning. And other than that, we can get on with the show. So good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for being here. If you're watching the recording, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. And especially everybody that joins us live on a Friday morning. Thank you so much. All right, first off, Nikki with the latest news.
Good morning, everybody, on this Friday morning, the 6th of October. Now, I hope everybody knows that this is FPI's Financial Planning Week. We organize it every year to coincide with World Financial Planning Day, that is normally on the Wednesday, as it was this week, on the 4th of October. It also coincides with IOSCO's Investor Week. Now, some exciting news that I can share with you, and this is hot off the press. FBI conducted consumer research together with the Financial Planning Standards Board earlier this year on the value of financial planning. And we can now share some of the research insights that we found from this report. And I think it's very important that this gets shared, especially by our CFP members of the FBI, given that it just underscores what we already know about the value of financial planning and advice. So, what did we do in this research report? We based this report, and the descriptions and statistics in this report are based on insights from a global research study that was undertaken for the Financial Planning Standards Board by independent research firm My Mavens from Australia. Now, this quantitative study was undertaken in February. There was 1,005 respondents from South Africa that took place. There's also a global study where I think something like 16 territories took part. So it's also very interesting to go and read the global study, but let's focus on the South African study. So what did it include? Both advised and unadvised consumers. Advised consumers are those who are currently working with a financial planner, those who seek financial advice as needed, and then there's those who have received financial planning advice in the last 3 years. Versus the unadvised consumer are those who have never received financial planning advice from a financial planner, and then they also looked at how consumers who work with a CFP professional differ from those who just work with someone who has not got a professional designation. So what has this study found? This study has found that people who work with a professional financial planner feel better off both financially as well as more broadly. They report having a better quality of life, enjoying more financial confidence and resilience, and feeling more satisfied with their financial situation. Clients of CFP professionals in South Africa, but also worldwide, report that they feel particularly satisfied. Across the globe, people who work with the CFP professionals say they experience the highest quality of life, enjoy the most confidence, feel most satisfied with their financial situation, and they attribute the most benefit to the recommendations that they receive. So the trouble is not everyone uses the services of a financial planning professional. And one of the most common reasons is that people say they find it hard to know they can trust with their finances. Now, in this study, we found that almost all consumers advised by a CFP professional trust them to act in the client's best interest. I think the percentage in South Africa that says that they trust their CFP professional to act in their best interest is something like 94%. It is a very, very high ratio. So that makes sense when you consider that certified financial planner professionals have committed to rigorous standards of competency and ethics and have achieved the globally recognized symbol of excellence in financial planning. There is a full key findings document available on our website. If you go to www.fpi.co.za and you click on research at the top, you will find all the information you need. There are also a few other things that came out of the study. And one of the things that they looked at is how Generation Y, so that's the millennials, use financial planning services. And some of the information that came out of there is that Generation Y is more likely to expect digital engagement. It just shows us again everything that Francois has also been talking about. We need to embrace the technology and make use of it for the generations who is going to be inheriting and dealing with the wealth going forward. There are also 4 myths that were about financial planning that were completely busted by the study. So the 4 myths is financial planning is only for the rich. That was proven not to be true. The second one is that financial planning is only needed at retirement. Now, financial planners know that you need to start financial planning very early in your life. But over 9 in 10 Generation Ys who work with a CFP professional actually agree that financial planning has left them better off financially. So it's not just at retirement. Also, the value of financial planning myth was busted. The fact that financial planning costs more than it's worth. 9 in 10 clients of CFP professionals say the benefits of financial planning outweigh the cost. And as I said, financial planners lack objectivity is myth number 4. And 94% of people who work with a CFP report they trust their financial planner to act in their own best interest. So go and read this research. I think for everybody who is a CFP professional, this is valuable information you can share with your clients. It just shows us how what we know already was just underscored by the study. Well, have a wonderful weekend, Francois. And seeing as it's National Smile Day or something like that, everybody keeps smiling the entire weekend. Thank you, Francois.
Great stuff. Thank you very much, Nikki. Appreciate it. And yes, I think it's International Smile Day. So it's World Smile Day probably, but we'll hear more about that maybe later. Anyway, so next up we have Norma. And as I said, Norma is going to talk about, is this good enough? Thinking about, who determines the value? How do you establish metrics for values? And also 3 steps to putting value into the world.
Good morning. So glad to be back today. Francois, you mentioned that we live in a world with distractions and overload. But I want to add to that, we live in a world also inundated with self-doubt and this pursuit of perfection. Now, this brings me to my topic today, which is a question that we all have been plagued with. Maybe not now in your life, but maybe you definitely know that this has come up for you at some point at least. Now, this question that we ask ourselves, is what I'm doing truly good enough? Or is this what I'm creating truly good enough? So let's look at this question today and look at it through why we doubt and who decides what the value of something is. And if we are in maybe disbelief, how can we get to a place where we believe a bit more in what we have to offer and our own value? Now, why we doubt? We're all humans, and we, have this tendency to want to, belong to something, belong to something bigger than ourselves. We want to, be loved. We want to feel significant. And when we step out of our comfort zone and we pursue our goals, then we run the risk of maybe getting rejected or criticized or even judged. And then to make it worse, then we believe this lie that our brain just offers us sometimes, that is this good enough? And what we do is when we go into our past looking for evidence, and we try and justify that. We try and justify if we are good enough. And really, that's not the most helpful way of approaching it. Now, who decides if something is valuable? Who decides, is this good enough? Now, what we do is we leave this to other people. We give our power to another person by waiting for them to tell us this is good enough, waiting for our clients to buy from us, or waiting for someone to say yes. But then really what we can do, and it's the most helpful way, is really decide for ourselves, is what we have to offer, is this good enough? And I think I'm the best person to decide that, because I was the person that created this thing. I know where I am right now. I know my knowledge, my skill, my expertise. I know the person that I'm here to serve. And I know the level that I'm talking to my clients on. So I can't really go and compare myself to someone that might be light years ahead of me. Now, what we do is we compare, and that really just leaves us in a place where we're stuck and we really feel that self-doubt. So it's always a good idea to take back our power and decide for ourselves if what I'm doing is good enough, and decide in our own way, our own metrics, use our own metrics to decide. Now, what can we do to believe a little bit more in our value or the things that we put out into the world? So my idea always is to work on my self-concept first, because if I believe in my own self-worth, if I have a high self-concept, then obviously I'm going to believe in what I put out into the world. Also, a great way that I normally go about is it's just like reaffirming my purpose on this earth. Why was I put here, and who was I put here to serve? And if I think and answering those questions, I'm not going to have time to think if something is good enough. I'm just going to be more concerned with the people that I'm supposed to help, and putting that help that I can, that thing that I can help them with, is put that out into the world rather. Now, we can also decide upfront what our metrics is to decide if something is going to be good enough. So we decide upfront, this is my metric, this is what I'm going to be using to know that what I have to offer is valuable. And I'm not going to wait for someone else to tell me this is valuable, to actually believe in myself and what I have to offer. Then just reminding us that self-confidence is always available to us. So we wake up in the morning and I can have that self-confidence about I can do anything, I can achieve anything, I can figure anything out. Of course I can do this. And to know that confidence only comes over time. The first time I drive a car, I'm maybe not that confident, but now that I've done it so many times, it just comes naturally and I'm so confident in doing that. And that's the same with everything we do in our businesses and in our lives. And then lastly, just become aware of our thinking while we're doubting ourselves. So ask ourselves that question, is this good enough? Then answer that question for us. Because once we say things out loud, sometimes we actually realize how ridiculous it is and what we think about it. So go and poke holes in that belief or that theory that I have. Start asking questions and answer those questions for myself as well. So this is what I have for you regarding, is this good enough? And something I want to leave you with is that sometimes we have to realize that our value will be hidden from those people that shouldn't be in our future. So I hope you have an amazing weekend, and I will be back next week.
Thank you very much, Norma. I sort of watched a clip this week where Tom Cruise, it's obviously an old clip, but Tom Cruise was saying, he's one of those people, it's going to happen. He has no idea how, but it's going to happen. And I think it sort of made me now think the things that you said as well. We are able to really do anything that we set our minds to, even though we don't maybe know how we're going to do that. But if you really believe in that, it's definitely possible. Righty, next up, Gugu and her segment on Wired to Connect. And she's going to introduce her special guest to you just now. So Gugu, over to you.
Thank you, Francois. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another installment of Wired to Connect. I'm super excited this morning to be interviewing one of my favorite people, Dr. Bongiwe Tlangulela. She's affectionately known as Dr. B. She's a dentist based in Johannesburg. She's got practices in Roodepoort, Sandton, and Pretoria. She's also an Oral-B brand ambassador with 33,000 followers on Instagram. All of this before she turned 30, which is really, really impressive. And coincidentally, today is World Smile Day. Hello, Dr. B.
Good morning, Gugu. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How's it going today on World Smile Day?
Good. I'm very excited. It's one of my favorite days in the year.
Awesome. You have a great Instagram following. How did you grow your social media network?
First of all, I have to be honest in that 70% of the time, I think, that I've been on social media, I had never tried to grow it. It sort of happened organically with me sharing my journey. So it started off as me thanking friends, family, and any new patients for coming to see me and choosing me specifically. I did this by taking a photo of them in the dental chair with myself and posting it on my Instagram. And then from then on, it just became a thing. Now I'm more intentional about social media because it's become more dangerous and the stakes are a little bit higher. So the consequences of what I say and how I say it are more important than they used to be. So I'm very careful. But basically, I think the thing about me and my brand is that it's authentic and true. And the aim is to educate or influence based on my professional opinion, as well as what I too would do. So I've built the trust and I'm not doing it just for the money. And I think my people know that.
Nice, stunning. And now that it's at this level, do you do it alone or do you work with somebody who helps to manage it for you?
Listen, on paper it says I'm alone, but I've never really been alone. In the beginning, a company had approached me to open a practice under their umbrella, and had offered all their resources to assist me in running the business. But that was the first and last time I was going to do that. And since then, I haven't really relied on a partner. I do just work in association with people, companies, and really great brands. They contribute to the growth, and they've helped me manage it as well.
Stunning. Okay. And what do you're great at connecting. I mean, I do follow you on Instagram, and we also
Thank
chat,
you.
and I see how you are with people. What do you think? Why do you think you're such a great connector? What makes you a great connector?
I think it's my honesty. I truly connect with people that either are already honest with themselves or yearning to become more honest with themselves. I am brutally honest with myself. I know what I stand for, and that sort of trickles into my interactions and connections. I really value mine and other people's time, especially, and I have to engage with many interactions on a regular basis. So I think I'm also great at connecting other people. I'm also very silly. So I think shared laughter is brings people closer together than any serious conversation can.
I agree with that last point, 100%. Can you attribute your business success to your social media efforts?
So 100% I can, but not 100% of my success is because of social media. My friends and family are the very people on these platforms that have helped me build over time. So I am an example of how social media can benefit your business. But I think with the support and the intentions of the people I had when I was coming up in the industry, I would have been successful anyway, whether they were doing it from behind the screen or not. So it's really the people for me. They backed me and they meant it, and they believed. And those people and the fact that I'm really not that bad at my job are probably the reasons I'm successful today.
That always helps, hey? My last question to you is, so we are in the financial planning space. We also have to connect with our clients, and a lot of us are trying the social media to sort of connect with people, new potential clients. How would you advise people in our space to connect with complete strangers on social media, and when? Yeah, we've got you back.
Sorry, I just lost you for a second. Okay, good. I think before being successful, my advice is to be careful. Lots of weird things are happening on the internet. So use social media as a tool, especially if you want to align it with your business. I lead with the truth. So I would say decide what your message is and what your page is about and focus on that. The people who follow you also kind of guide you in terms of what works and what doesn't, and what they like to see and what they don't. But I wouldn't do it if it was just about satisfying people or getting more likes. Engagement on real and relevant topics is really where the prize is, and just keep it around your messaging. And remember that you are on the internet. What you say and how you say it actually matters. But in the same breath, keep it short. You want to engage people by being interesting and to the point. There's a million things people need to get through on social media. So the message the message that is received has to be impactful and made in like under 15 seconds. So do what works, but more importantly, also do what works for you.
Stunning. That's solid advice. Thank you so much, Dr. B. And happy
My
World
pleasure.
Smile Day.
Happy World Smile Day. Thank you so much for having me.
Cheers. Back to you, Francois.
Has definitely put a massive smile on my face. I hope the same with you. Some top tips there from Dr. B and Gugu. So thank you very much, Gugu, for arranging that. Next up, just a bit of quick announcements. So let's do it. And the lucky draw for the people who gave us feedback on the summit. So let's do that. Alrighty, so as I mentioned earlier, there's 80 people who gave us feedback about the summit, so thank you very much for that. And I'm going to jump on over to the Wheel of Fortune, if you will, or Wheel of Names, but this today is the Wheel of Fortune. And we're going to do 3 draws, and I will click and we will go through and see who the first winner will be. Let's see who that is. Who's going to be our very first winner? And it is Leslie McWilliam. Well done. Absolutely fantastic. So we will be in touch to sort of arrange for delivery of that. So Leslie McWilliam. Then our next draw. So let's do the third one. Let's see, who is it going to be now? Yo, Trevor, coffee lover, Stacy. Fantastic, Trevor. This is none other Trevor Stacy from the At Works of the world. So well done, Trevor. I don't think you're here this morning. But yeah. Righty, and then the very last draw. Here we go. So who's going to be the third lucky winner? Remember, this is completely random, completely automated. So let's see who our next winner is. And we've got Mr. Mark Dunbar. So fantastic. Well done, Mark. Thank you very much for giving us the feedback. So thank you so much. I really appreciate that. And there's some incredible feedback that came back, apart from the fact that most people thought that the summit was absolutely fantastic. We also got some valuable feedback about things that we will incorporate into our future events, because that is why we are asking for feedback. So thank you very much for taking the time. All right, so what else is there then to talk about? Well, first of all, got to talk about the Connect event. It's a series of 4 events that we're doing going around the country. These are small, intimate events, so it's not big events. We've got 30 spaces at each event. We have asked you to register your interest so that we can get a sense of the different areas. And in all 4 areas, so Pretoria, Joburg, Durban, and Cape Town, we have had lots of interest. So thank you very much. If you haven't registered your interest yet, please, you can absolutely do so. And the link for you to do exactly that is on screen. So it is propulsion.co.za/connect. It's purely just registering your interest so that we know you are interested. It gives you the dates. So Pretoria is the 27th of October, Joburg the 3rd of November, Durban the 24th of November, and Cape Town the 1st of December. So obviously I'm talking a little bit fast. So if you want to grab those dates, just go to the link propulsion.co.za/connect. And you will be able to see the dates there. We will give you more details around the agenda and the venue. The one thing that I can tell you is that we are combining entertainment, education, and amazing networking between everybody that's going to be there. So do look out for the details. We'll be sending them out very, very shortly as next week. So looking forward to that. So that's the Connect events. So do have a look at that. Then very excited for this week that's coming up. The Microsoft 365 program is launching on the 12th of October, next week, Thursday, depending on when you're watching this video. But the 12th of October, it's going to run over 6 weeks, every Thursday from 12 until 1. It's only for Propulsion members. So if you want access to this program, we have had a massive response to this. Of all the programs we've done, this has been absolutely incredible. So if you want access to this, you've got to become a Propulsion member. That's a choice you have. You don't have to, but to have access, you have to be a member. So we're doing this for members only, and we're going to go through a host of things that I shared a couple of weeks ago. So I'm not going to go through all of those details again. We have sent emails. We'll probably send another last email today just to remind everyone. But that's going to be incredible 6 weeks of really getting insights into how you can get the most out of Microsoft 365. Now, the amount of updates and changes and everything that's happening in the Microsoft ecosystem is absolutely incredible. Not only from an AI point of view and a Copilot point of view, but all the apps have been rewritten. OneDrive has been updated. It's looking incredible. All of the updates in Outlook that's happening, everything in Teams that is happening, it's just incredible. So really something that you do want to get into and sort of learn about how you can get the most out of something you are already paying for. So do join us for that. Then every Wednesday at this point from 10 until 11, we are running client meeting skills. So we've had the first 5 modules, in fact. The next module that is up, so module 6 is happening this coming Wednesday. And we're going to talk about understanding the behavioral influences that shape your client decisions. So we really get into some behavioral stuff in the next module. If you missed any of the sessions, they're all recorded. They're all available on the PROpulsion platform. Again, only for members. So even if you join now, you can get access to the previous recordings and go through those sessions. Incredibly valuable. And then this week, yesterday, in fact, we launched the Financial Planning Tools and Techniques 2.0. So this is taking client meeting skills to the next level. And we, in the first session, spoke about how do you position and explain financial planning when the client is actually coming to see you about something completely different. And our next module, which is taking place next week, Thursday at 10 o'clock, is how to explain the key differentiators between planning and advice. So we're really getting into those discussions with clients. And also, if you think about the things I'm about to share with you in today's episode, you'll see how all of this stuff works together. So today is a very high level sort of talk because obviously we only have so much time. But in these programs, we delve a lot deeper, and it's completely free for our members. So if you want access to those, it's all part of it. So it's Microsoft 365. It's the Client Meeting Skills 2.0, as well as Financial Planning Tools and Techniques 2.0, and a host of other things that are coming. So if you're not a member, the link is down below if you want to see what it all entails. It's 350 Rand a month. So go check it out. You will be amazed at what you are getting. And then there's also the community where you get to interact and engage and build relationships with everybody in the community. So really excited for that. Ladies and gentlemen, then lastly, if you find value in what we do, we find, when you are looking at the stats that most people, the majority of people, we've got a lot of people who have subscribed to the channel, but the majority who watches these shows have not. So if you're one of those, it will be really helpful if you could just hit that subscribe button. It doesn't cost you anything, but it does help us, particularly when we're looking for more guests to bring onto the show. It's definitely something that is extremely valuable. And it just gives us an indication that you find value in what it is that we do. So if you can, please like this. No, the show isn't finished. I just clicked the wrong thing. If you like what we do, then please like this video, share it with your friends and your colleagues, help us get the message out. And then, as I said, if you can please subscribe, that'll be absolutely fantastic. Alrighty, and just like that, we've come to the main segment of the show. So let's talk a little bit about communicating clearly in a world of distraction. All right, so I don't know why I always start with all right, but okay, just gathering my thoughts there for a second. There's lots going on. All right. So let's talk about clear communication in a world of distraction. And if you really think about why is this an important topic, because I was thinking about what am I going to talk about today, and it's really incredible if I just look at the amount of information that I was having a discussion in the week with someone. We were talking about the amount of information and changes, and everything is just, it's not stopping, and it's just getting worse and worse and worse, or accelerating then, if you will, if you don't want to see it as a bad thing. But the amount of information that's becoming available is absolutely incredible. And there's a very simple reason for it, right? It's obviously because everybody's creating content and everybody's got a voice today. So there's a lot that's coming across our desk. I was just looking at the amount of or number of events that's being held by all the different corporates and all the different businesses. And everybody's out there marketing and hosting events and doing all sorts of things. So there's so much choice. There's so much information, so much decisions that needs to be made. And all of these things are really holding us back. I'm not even talking about the amount of emails that we're getting. I don't want to talk about that because it keeps me awake at night. And then you sort of go onto social media feeds and you see all this negative stuff. And it's just news and bad news and bad news and bad news. And it's really it's almost sometimes when you start looking at it, then when you look at this one, they give you more about that and more about that. And it just, before you know it, you're sort of drawn into things that you don't want to be drawn into. So that's why it's so important. That's what our clients are going through. If you and I are going through all of this, then that is what our clients are going through as well. And maybe you and I have sort of a filter to say, well, what's relevant, what's not relevant. But in a client's world, when it comes to financial planning, they are probably not thinking about that. Or if you're in any other profession, they're not thinking about your profession. They are thinking about themselves and their lives. So they're looking at it from a much broader perspective. So therefore, they're taking in much more information. Typically when you are focused on something specific, that's the information that you will take in. But when you're not focused on something specific, you are taking in everything. And then before you know it, you're sort of in a situation where you don't know left or right, up or down, forward or backwards, or whatever that may be. So I just want to talk a little bit about the modern client, right? So if we think about where we are, and some of these things you'll know probably, and some of these things you go, yeah, this is exactly what I'm experiencing. So I think this applies as much to you as it does to your clients. But at the end of the day, at the moment, as it stands, is that we've got a lot shorter attention spans. And it is just because there's so much information to sort of get through, right? And therefore, we are just jumping from the one thing to the next to the next. And then we think that we can multitask. Even women think they can multitask. Like, nobody can really multitask. That switching from one task to another task is really holding us back quite a lot. It's a matter of focus and really sort of thinking about that. You know, often in your business or your clients in their lives, they will think that everything is a priority and everything is important and you can't leave anything. So we try to do a little bit of everything every single day, and that is really not leading to great results. So at the end of the day, it is a thing that, one, we can't multitask, and we've got to become better at prioritizing, because that's the other thing that we really suck at. And then the other thing is that now, and it was just mentioned in the previous segment, where Dr. B said, you've got to get your message across in 15 seconds or less than 15 seconds. So people are looking for quick, digestible information. That's sort of the high level thing. So we are in this always on culture, you know, and that always on culture where we're always getting information via our phones and notifications and emails and, you know, all of that stuff. This is really having a big impact on clients' decision-making, on their decision-making process, and also their ability to make those decisions. So you're really getting to a point where I'm just tired of making decisions. You know, often I just tell my wife, can you just decide, please? Because I'm not, like, I just can't make any more decisions. It just doesn't stop. So when we talk about this always on culture, there's a couple of things that I just briefly want to highlight about this. And I hope that you're making notes, because these are really things that we need to be aware of. And, you know, once you become aware of them, you will definitely notice them in clients or in your discussions or engagement with clients and other people in general. But the first thing is that there's obviously information overload, as I just shared. But the other big thing apart from that, and why information overload is really a thing, because people get bombarded with all sorts of different things, right? But also because we're in a world that's really, everything is instantaneous. You know, everything happens immediately, and everything sort of now has to happen immediately. We've become used to, if I call you and I can't get hold of you, I get frustrated. Or you call me and you can't get hold of me, you get frustrated. But where were the days when I was on the road and, you know, if you phoned the office or you phoned my home and I wasn't there, then you had to wait for me to come home and everybody was happy with that. But today we're so used to that we get upset and we get frustrated because I'm used to getting things immediately. Now, why am I saying that? Is because these things now also lead to impulsive decisions. So just think about all the information that's coming to the client. They see, oh, there's a market dip, and suddenly they're on a call to you to say, look, the markets are crashing or falling. You know, should we cash in, or I want to cash in, or even just go directly to their investment provider and just cash it in without you even knowing sometimes, because they have that ability. But we have to deal with these impulse decisions and help clients not to sort of do that. Obviously, because of all this information and so much that we need to consume, there's also a reduced attention span. So that's just a natural consequence of all of the information overload. So I don't think that comes as a surprise. But something that I actually said in the week is that I definitely can feel when I spend too much time reading through things, watching things, you know, sort of looking for things, I can feel my anxiety rising. I don't know about you, but for me, you know, it's sort of the stress levels definitely go up because there's so much to do and it doesn't stop. I just said yesterday, geez, I've got such a long list of things to do. But again, I've got to prioritize. Not all of it is as important as I think it is. And it's difficult to prioritize these things, right? We can go through the models and all those things that we've spoken about before, but ultimately it's still a very hard thing to actually do. Then, you know, apart from our impulse decisions, because we want things now, there's also, we feel that our clients have an expectation, and they do have an expectation for us to respond immediately to things. So once they've sent an email, if they haven't got a response within 10 minutes, it's bad service, you know? So we're also dealing with that. And then there's a shift in trust sources. Now, what am I talking about if I say there's a shift in trust sources? Well, it's very simply that where you and I were the trusted source, the only source of information, there are now several sources available to clients. And sometimes those sources have conflicting information. So we've got to deal with that. They've got to deal with that. And it does sometimes make it difficult for us to get our message and our advice across to our clients because of that. And then something that has obviously come about in the last while, and some advisors do prefer this, some clients prefer this, and we both prefer it. It's a great match. But for where you have an advisor who prefer to see people in person because they connect better, they're more comfortable, and you have a client who now prefers to work digitally, they want to have a digital interaction, and sometimes not even on video, they just want a WhatsApp interaction. That becomes very, very difficult sometimes, and you get reduced time for face-to-face meetings. For some people, that's great. For other people, it's not so great. But it's one of those things that we need to think about and contend with. Now, this is sort of where the customer is, right? So they have information overload. They make impulsive decisions. They've got a reduced attention span. They have elevated stress levels, right? Because also they make these impulse decisions and they don't know whether those are the right decisions. They are looking for immediate responses. They have multiple sources that gives them information, and they sometimes now these days prefer digital interaction over other interactions. So that's the customer of today. But how do we now make sure that we can connect with them and sort of simplify our messaging to them? Now, let me just sort of say there's two aspects here to the communication and to what I'm talking about when I say communication. On the one hand, there's marketing, right? So it's the stuff that we do to attract new clients or to educate clients. And on the other hand, there's our interactions during meetings and client engagements with our clients. So I'm going to jump a little bit between the two. But first of all, I just want to look about or think about what are the things that we want to do, when we are communicate with a client in general. And it's really important that we take these complex financial topics and we delve into these in quite detail in the two programs I mentioned earlier. But there's just some of the things that I want to talk about with this, where we are breaking these complex topics down into simple and understandable terms. And it's much more than just using plain language, right? But why do we want to do this? Why is it important that you do this? Well, first, it's for building trust. Because if somebody understands what you're saying, they know they can trust you, right? It's one of the elements. It's not necessarily the only thing. But also now, if you go back to the impulsive decision making, when they have trust and when they get information that really, I get it and I understand it, then they're able to make better decisions. So we're really empowering to make better decisions. The biggest thing here is that if a client understands what we are sharing with them and what we are saying to them and sort of discussing, then they are very happy to engage back with us. They're happy to get involved in the conversation because they're not feeling stupid. They're not feeling overwhelmed. They're not feeling like they have no idea what they're talking about. It makes that engagement better. And I have really spoken about this a lot. What is true client engagement, right? It's a meeting of minds. That is sort of the thing. And you won't have that if a client has no idea what is being discussed. Also, if you make the complex things simple, you will definitely avoid miscommunication or misunderstandings, rather. It's not to say maybe there's still people will talk past each other in some instances, but it's really about eliminating misunderstandings and making sure that everybody is on the same page. Then importantly, let's just say if I make the complex thing simple, that now we are talking the same language, then it's much easier to build long-term client relationships. So the client will feel informed, they are educated, and because they are engaged and there's a meeting of minds and you're having a conversation at the same level, then clients will stick around and they will stay your client. Because if they go to any other financial advisor, that person is probably going to talk at a high level using jargon and all those kind of things, and they will lose the client. The client's I have no idea what you just said to me. So it's a very powerful thing from a client loyalty point as well. And there's many different ways that we can sort of simplify our messaging. I've always been a big proponent of reducing the reports and the pages and the printouts and what it is that we discuss in a meeting with a client. Because in every instance, I'm seeing people sitting with all the compliance requirements and we have to go through all these documents. There's no experience. Like, we are just talking to them page by page, line by line, and that's what we're doing. Some people have taken it a little bit further and they put it on a big screen, but we're still going through the document. So by using different things, and I'll get into what you can use in a second, but it's really important that we use things like maybe a 1 or 2 page financial plan, something that really highlights and consolidates everything so that the client has the big picture. Because that's what's important to the client, is, are they getting the big picture? So we've got to think about these things and how do we present these to clients? And the problem is that, we only rely on the systems we're using and the technology that we're using to produce these reports for us. So in a lot of cases, we're not taking it that next step further. And just by the way, so I used to do these. I had my own template with my own report. Looking back at it now, I'm actually like, geez, I don't even think how I thought that was cool, because it's just words and words and words. Although they were my own words, it was just words. And there wasn't really much to engage the client with. Right. So that's the power of simplifying a message. The question is now, can I leverage technology for effective communication? And this is now tending more towards because this won't work in a digital environment, or rather in a face-to-face environment. This is more for me about communicating with the client in a timely manner, in a personalized manner, and sort of being able to share information and educate them maybe on that basis. So it's not about in a client meeting at the moment. However, if you think about the things that we can use to really make things more awesome, right, is using things like Teams and Zoom and those kind of things to enable, if people prefer to engage digitally with us, we have these tools available to really create a great client experience and still to be able to see people. So I'll talk more about that in a second. But things that we can do to provide better communication to our clients, think about your CRM system. What is that CRM system able to do? Talk to your software provider. I've said this many times, so I'm not going to stand still on this. You can go watch the last 3 episodes probably where I spoke about that. But many of these systems have dedicated client portals. It's a great way to communicate securely and directly to and with clients. And obviously, if you can use a bit of data insights and you can get information about your clients and very specific information about each client, then you can do very personalized communications through this. So technology is definitely something that can help, from email systems to virtual meeting systems, even managing the workflows and things and automating some of those communications. So that can make it simpler. But the content of those things, that's what it's really about. It's not so much about the tools that are triggering or firing off the communication or enabling the communication. It is about what happens in that communication. That is the thing that I want to talk about a little bit more. But at this point, I think I've spoken mostly about sort of talking and, sort of engaging and those kind of things. What is very important when it comes to great, clear communication, and maybe you know what I'm going to say just now, but it is actually active listening. Listening is much more, they say you've got 2 ears, 1 mouth, use them in that proportion, But active listening, because there's listening and then there's active listening. And even in the client meeting skills program, we're looking at emphatic listening, so listening with empathy, which is very important. So let me talk a little bit about the art of listening, active listening in a noisy world. What is important, right, is that when we are meeting, and whether it's like this, right, so this is why I always prefer people switching on their videos. In some cases, people don't want to switch on their videos because for whatever reason, they don't want you to see them, or maybe they're busy with something else in the background, or whatever that may be. And I'm even pulling this through into training sessions that we do. The big thing that you want is you at the very least, as a very first port of call, want to be fully engaged, right? So what does that mean? If I say you need to be fully engaged or I need to be fully engaged, what I'm talking about is that when a client is speaking, you're giving them your full attention. We're not busy making notes. We're not looking at our phone that's ringing. We're not like checking emails, when you're busy virtually. You ask the client a question and then you see the little notification that pops up for your email. You don't do that. You are fully engaged, focusing on the client. So that's the first part of that. So you want to eliminate all the distractions as far as that is concerned. The second main thing, and this is actually my reason for wanting the camera on, is keeping eye contact. So you want to make sure that there is eye contact. They must see that you're looking at them, that you're talking to them, that you're listening, that you're engaged, that they've got your full attention. So what do you do when somebody doesn't switch on their camera? How can you deal with that? It's not like you want to say to them, please, can you switch on your camera because I would like to see you, because that might put them in a very awkward position. And now you're forcing them to switch on their camera, and maybe there's a very particular reason why it's not on. I love how people say, I don't know, I have a problem with my camera today. I don't know what's going on. That's sort of, I don't know how many times I've heard that. But all you can say is like, can you see me? So if I were to say to you in this instance, so can you see me? Yes, I can see you. Oh, no, I just want to make sure because I'm finding it like I'm battling to see you. So I just wanted to make sure you can see me. And without actually asking them to switch on their camera, they are able to maybe get the message. It's not to say that they will switch it on, but it's just a sort of a way that you don't make them feel awkward in that instance. I know I'm just having trouble seeing you, so I just wanted to make sure you can see me in that instance. Then the biggest challenge probably is avoiding to interrupt them. So when somebody is talking, often you'll hear something and it'll trigger a thought or it will trigger a response, or you already know where this is going and you just want to give them answers. So the hardest thing is not to actually interrupt them. So avoid that at all costs. Let them finish what it is that they're talking about. Doesn't matter whether it's going off point or anything. First, let them finish, right? Then also what you can do is use virtual cues. So obviously, you know that, you can nod, you can say, yes, oh, that's interesting. You can just give them some indication that you are engaged and that you are listening and that you are hearing them, just to keep them going. Because remember, when somebody's talking to you, they're probably going in their mind like, I wonder if I'm sharing too much. Is this even relevant? Is this even interesting? Should I be saying this? Shouldn't I be saying this? So by giving them these non-verbal cues, and I said non-verbal cues, and I went like, yes, that's interesting. That's obviously a verbal cue. But at the end of the day, it is about encouraging them through our non-verbal cues to keep going, because that's what we want, right? We want them to share as much as possible. Then something we can do, but you shouldn't do this often. Like not every time the client says, then it's going to feel like you're in a marital sort of, like a therapy session. So you don't want to do that. And this is just about paraphrasing and summarizing. So just checking back with the client when they share something really important with you, just to check back and say, you know what, I just want to make sure that I get this. So if I understand you correctly, this is sort of what you're sharing with me. And please, if I've got it wrong, feel free to correct me. I just want to make sure that I understand this, because this is very important. Now, obviously, you don't want to do that after every single thing that the client shares with you. So reserve that for the very important things that really stands out and that really jumps out at you, just to check back that you are really understanding, and give the client that permission to correct you if you got it wrong. Obviously, it's all about questioning as well. So you've got to ask a lot of open questions. I'm not really going to go into that because we have spoken about that and a lot of people are speaking about that. So good open-ended questions, so that it's not a yes, no answer. They've got to elaborate and sort of share more from that point. And there is a skill to that. Then also important to show to the client that you understand. And, you can say things like, I can see why you would feel that way. Or you can say to them, that does sound very challenging to me. So what you're doing in that instance is showcasing that you have empathy, that you understand, that you feel with them. So that's important, so that the clients, okay, so they do understand, they get me, right? So that's very important. Again, not with every single response. Use it sparingly. Then avoid offering solutions too quickly. Because I said when was it, on Wednesday in a session, I said to people, we often think that things are so bespoke and they're so unique for, and we like to tell clients that they're very unique and very special and everything is just built for them. But if I'm honest about it, I think when you zoom out, it's not so different. at the end of the day, the things we do from a financial planning point of view, there's a couple of things to achieve certain goals. The aspect where the uniqueness comes in is in what is important to the client. Because two clients can be in the same situation but have two very different values and two very different things that are important to them. That's where the differentiation comes in. The actual implementation of stuff sometimes is very much, there's only so much we can do, right? But then the way we implement it might be where the uniqueness is. So sometimes when a client is talking, we can already say, that's what we need to do, that's what we need to do. So just avoid giving them a solution too quickly. Let them talk themselves out. You don't know what they're going to say later on. So there might be something that you pick up on that's very, very valuable. Then something else that sort of works with the paraphrasing and the summarizing could also be reflective listening. And if we say reflective listening, that is sort of something where, you are reflecting the person who's speaking to you, their emotions, and you play that back to them. So that could be something, let's just say that somebody says, these markets that are all over the place, or I see my money keep dropping, it's really, really giving me a lot of anxiety. And, so if that is sort of the deduction you make from the discussion, you could say something like, it sounds like the market's unpredictability is really causing you some stress. So it's just reflecting back and just checking whether that is what the client is actually telling us. So those are just some of the things that we can really practice in terms of, if we want to listen actively, in this world that we are in. If people can feel that they are being heard and that people are really paying attention, then they will engage with you better and they will be more focused on that conversation. The other thing that I want to talk about is crafting engaging content. So that's what I'm saying, like we're sort of looking at both the marketing angle as well as the in-client meeting angle. But this is now more from a, sort of creating content. And it might be content that you use in the meeting, but it could also be the content that Dr. B was talking about for social media and for marketing and for education and those kind of things. But what you definitely want to do if you want to create compelling newsletters or reports and presentations is just, first of all, know your audience. Who are they? What do they prefer? Right? So how do they want to be communicated with? Do they prefer video over articles? Do they prefer email over WhatsApp? Do they prefer, a live interaction, or do they prefer something that they can do in their own time? Know their pain points. Because this is the big thing. When you are communicating with clients, you want to focus on the pain points and sort of show what are the things that they are able to do when you help them or when they do business with you or when they become a client of yours. So it's about those outcomes that we create for them. It's not about we do estate. So I see so many websites. We do estate planning and risk planning, and we do investment planning and retirement planning and short-term and health. Those are the products we sell. That's not the solutions. That is not the outcomes that we drive. That is not what the client eventually gets when they implement some of those, if they even need any of those. So know your audience and talk to them and showcase to them how you can help them. Be clear and concise. This is exactly what was said earlier. So avoid the jargon, talk in plain language, and get to the point quickly. Awesome design, so important. You've got to make things look great. You want them to grab attention. You want them to be different from somebody else's. So spend time on that. Get somebody who's good at design to help you design these things or to design them for you. Stop doing these things yourself unless you are good at it. Right? And then, very importantly, whatever we share with clients, make it shareable. So make sure it's available in a PDF, for example, or there's a link that they can share out with other people. So make sure that it's shareable. Then, if we really think about that content, so that's sort of the starting point, right? Know your audience, be clear and concise, use awesome design and make it shareable. But also then we need to make it visual, right? So use things like infographics, infographics and videos and icons and images, and if you really have to, I wish we can now start moving away from charts and graphs, but for some people that is still the thing that tells the story. I don't believe it is. But if we have to, also charts and graphs are much better than showing the tables and the numbers and those kind of things. So you've got to regularly review your communication strategies, and make sure that you stay on top of your clients' preferences. Now, how do I know what my clients prefer? How do I know what their pain points are? how do I even know who they are? Because we can rely on what we know about our clients, but often there's things that we don't know. The answer is very simple. You've got to ask them. You've got to ask them continuously. So once a year, check in with them. Twice a year, check in with them and make sure what it is that they want, what do they prefer, and what their pain points are. Brilliant stuff. So next week, my guest is Rex Cowley from Overseas Trusts and Pensions. So looking forward to that discussion with Rex. So we're going to get into a whole different world about cross-border financial planning and specifically as far as pensions and those kind of things are concerned. So do join us next week for that discussion. And on that note, I want to wish you a fantastic weekend. Stay safe, be blessed and prosper, and continue to raise the bar. Thank you very much. Love you lots. Bye-bye.